Have you ever criticized yourself when you made a mistake? For example, like the following: you can't do this, what you can do, and other negative sentence that spoke in your head at that time. Have you ever? These self-judgmental hurt words are constantly coming out of you because you don't have enough ability and self-love. Hello guys, I'm Norlinda, the student of English Department of UIN Antasari Banjarmasin. In this podcast, I will tell you about self-love. What is self-love? Self-love is a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from action that support our psychological, and spiritual growth. Many people mistakenly believe that self-love is the same as narcissism or having a big ego. It's not. So, what do we mean when we say self-love? Self-love means having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness. Self-love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. Self-love means not settling for less than you deserve. Self-love can mean something different for each person because we all have many different ways to take care of ourselves. Figuring out what self-love looks like for you as an individual is an important part of your mental health. Loving yourself doesn't mean you think you're the smartest, most talented, most beautiful person in the world. Instead, when you love yourself, you can accept your so-called weakness. Appreciate these so-called shortcomings as something that makes you who you are. When you love yourself, you have compassion for yourself. You take care of yourself like you take care of a friend in distress. You treat yourself kindly. You don't need to pick and criticize yourself. For many, especially those of us who grew up in households that lack love or in which love waxes and wanes, loving yourself will take work. Self-love is a practice, and it's a skill that takes work. Self-love, it can mean talking to and about yourself with love, prioritizing yourself, giving yourself a break from self-judgment, trusting yourself, being true to yourself, being nice to yourself, setting healthy boundaries, forgiving yourself when you aren't being true or nice to yourself. For many people, self-love is another way to say self-care. To practice self-care, we often need to go back to the basic and listen to our bodies, take breaks from work and move stretch, put the phone down and connect to yourself or others, or do something creative. Eating healthy, but sometimes indulge in your favorite foods. Self-love means accepting yourself as you are in this very moment for everything that you are. It means accepting your emotion for what they are and putting your psycho, emotional, and mental well-being first. When you love yourself, you have an overall positive view of yourself. This doesn't mean you feel positive about yourself all the time. That will be unrealistic. For example, I can temporarily feel upset, angry, or disappointed with myself and still love myself. If this is confusing, think about how this works in other relationships. I can love my brother even though I sometimes feel angry or disappointed with him. Even in the midst of my anger and disappointment, my love for him informs how I relate to him. It allows me to forgive him, consider his feelings, meeting his needs, and make decisions that will support his well-being. Self-love is very much the same. Which means, if you know how to love others, you know how to love yourself. The psychology of self-love. From decades of theorizing and exploring this concept, we know that having love and compassion for oneself is not only not selfish. It's actually a great way to make sure you're doing the best you can and impacting others positively. You've probably heard phrases like, "You can't love anyone else until you love yourself," and "You can't take care of anyone else until you've taken care of yourself." These phrases are grounded in truth. It all starts with you. If you are not in a good place, characterized by balance, compassion, and inner peace, you're likely in no position to do your best work or be the best partner, parent, or friends that you can be. Self-love in Islam. Self-love in Islam is different to mainstream media definition of self-love. Everywhere around us, we see ideas promoted as self-love. Is it really just bubble bath, manicure, massage, or an indulgent takeaway? Or is it something deeper, something that not only benefits to exterior self, but also the nafs or soul? Keep regarding to find out how self-love in Islam can actually help bring us closer to God. The reason we do what we like and make decisions every day is because it is our innate nature to self-love. Has no bounds, and as human we have a deep desire to always give ourselves the best for our bodies, brain, and soul. By disregarding ourselves and hating our weakness causes our growth to stunt and malnourishes our soul. Self-love in Islam does not mean to love yourself unconditionally as a whole. If you love all the qualities and aspects about yourself, then why would you improve? This is not an Islamic approach. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala bestowed His guidance upon us so that we can purify ourselves and overcome the negative traits that are not in accordance with Islam. When we look at our worthy attributes, thus defined by Sunnah and Islamic teaching, we should be grateful and become humble for having this. When examining our weakness, we should also be grateful as we have the opportunity and guidance to work on removing them. Please, we should take full responsibility for our shortcomings. We need to be careful in not being harsh on ourselves. An analogy that explains this best is what we should treat ourselves like a compassionate doctor treating a patient. Self-love versus narcissism. In addition to questioning whether self-love is really necessary, another big barrier to self-love is the belief that is narcissistic or selfish. When psychologists and therapists encourage self-love, they aren't talking about putting yourself on a pedestal above everyone else. Narcissists believe they are better than others and won't acknowledge or take responsibility for their mistakes and flaws. They also seek external amounts of external validation and recognition. Narcissists also lack empathy for others. Self-love, on the other hand, isn't about showing off how great you are. People who love themselves in a healthy way know that they are flawed and make mistakes, and they accept and care about themselves despite their imperfections. Self-love doesn't prevent you from caring about others. It simply means you can give yourself the same kindness that you give to others. Narcissism is the opposite. Narcissists compare themselves to others to feel better, obsess over looking like the real deal instead of becoming it, crave constant validation from others, and see things in black and white. Self-love is an honest and authentic appreciation for the self, while narcissism is all about proving that you're better than everyone else and making sure others see you as you want to be seen. Self-love is self-focused, while narcissism is other-focused. Why is self-love important? You might ask, for many of us, self-love might sound like luxury rather than a necessity, or a new age fad for those with too much time on their hands. Ironically, however, self-care and compassion might actually be needed most by those of us who work too hard and who are constantly striving to surpass ourselves and grasp the shape-shifting phantasm of perfection. Most of the time, when we're being too hard on ourselves, we do it because we're driven by a desire to excel and do everything right all the time. This entails a lot of self-criticism and that persecutory inner voice that constantly tells us how we could done things better is a hallmark of perfectionism. If you grew up without any models for self-love or anyone who talked to you about the importance of being good to self-love, you might question its value. The research on self-love and self-compassion underscore the importance of showing ourselves some love, beyond the fact that it simply feels good and makes us happier when we love and forgive ourselves. There are a host of other benefits that we bring about by loving ourselves. Well, without self-love, you're likely to be highly self-critical and fall into people-pleasing and perfectionism. You're more likely to tolerate abuse or mistreatment from others. You might neglect your own needs and feelings because you don't value yourself. And you may self-sabotage or make decisions that aren't in your own best interest. Self-love is the foundation that allows us to be assertive, set boundaries, and create healthy relationships with others, practice self-care, pursue our interests and goals, and feel proud of who we are. How to love yourself. So, now we know that self-love motivates you to make healthy choices in life. When you hold yourself in high esteem, you're more likely to choose things that nurture your well-being and serve you well. These things may be in the form of eating healthy, exercise, or having healthy relationship. This is some ways to practice self-love. The first is becoming mindful. People who have more self-love tend to know what they think, feel, and want. Second, taking action based on need rather than want. By staying focused on what you need, you turn away from automatic behavior patterns that get you into trouble, keep you stuck in the past, and lessen self-love. Third is practicing good self-care. You will love yourself more when you take better care of your basic needs. People high in self-love nourish themselves daily through healthy activities like sound nutrition, exercise, proper sleep, intimacy, and healthy social interaction. Fourth is making room for healthy habits. Start truly caring for yourself by mirroring that in what you eat, how you exercise, and what you spend time doing. Do stuff not to get it done or because you have to, but because you care about you. Finally, to practice self-love, start by being kind, patient, gentle, and compassionate to yourself, the way you would with someone else that care about. Remember, it's normal to be ambivalent about self-love or making any change. However, loving yourself doesn't mean you have to change everything about your life. Just try to treat yourself a little better than you did yesterday. Self-love isn't about instant gratification. A new pair of shoes or eating an entire pizza might make you good in the moment or taste delicious, but the feeling isn't lasting and could be damaging in the long run. Self-love means giving yourself what your body, brain, and soul needs for the marathon that is life. It isn't hedonism, and it isn't chasing a cycle or emotional high. The practice of self-love is the practice of nourishing yourself.